CEO of Hewlett-Packard, Fiorina.
Well, let me start with an apology. I'm not a radio talk show host. I didn't bring any cookies out.
Oh.
I could have done the leg thing, but I don't know, maybe not. But what I want to talk to you about today is why we are on the right side of history. Before I left my house this morning, I went to the dictionary and I looked up two words. One was conservative and one was progressive. You know what it says in the dictionary about conservatives? It says conservative, opposed to change. Progressive, advancing change. In this, the 21st century, those ideas, those definitions are turned on their head. I want to talk to you today about why our ideals, conservative ideals, are the only way to radically reform government so that it is, yes, much smaller, much less expensive, but also much more responsive and much better for more people. And I also want to talk to you about why conservative ideals are the only way to grow our economy. In 2001, long before I ever planned to run for the Senate in the state of California, when I was relatively new as the CEO of Hewlett-Packard, I made the observation way back in 2001 that the 21st century was going to be the century that I call DMVP, the digital, mobile, virtual, personal century. How many of you own a Kindle? How many of you have played with an iPod or own an iPhone? Everybody, right? Or some version thereof. Think about what the Kindle is. The Kindle is a piece of technology created by someone who said, you know, what if we got all that content that's in some author's mind and we got it directly to the reader? What if we cut out everything in between? That's what happened. In other words, analog content, what used to be written on a page, became digital. It went mobile. You can carry it anywhere. Virtual reality, whether you're playing fantasy football or you're gambling, there's a whole website called Second Life where you can create a whole nother life for yourself in virtual reality, and all this information has become personal. In other words, if you think about the Kindle, or you think about the iPhone, you think about everything becoming digital, everything going mobile, everything becoming personal. What does it mean? What does it mean? It means that any person, anywhere, can get any piece of information at any time. Think about what that has done to the book publishing industry. I wrote a book. I will tell you there is not a more anachronistic industry in the world than the book publishing industry. When I would receive the drafts of my book, I would write it electronically, I would send it to the publisher, I would get back from them pieces of paper with red pencil marks on them. But what happened to the book publishing industry because of Kindle? Barnes & Noble, Borders, what is happening to that whole chain? It's going out of business because content digitally is going to consumers. What happened? Does anyone go to a music store anymore? Well, okay, one. You're really conservative, ma'am. But the point is, most people go download music, right? Think about what would happen if we used that principle in healthcare. I happen to be on the advisory board of a little organization called the Foundation for Health Coverage Education. And what it does is it allows a person, instead of going and standing in line and waiting at a government bureaucracy, there are 25,000 government bureaucrats in California who are supposed to tell people whether they're eligible for public assistance. Instead of doing that, someone can go on a website, they get asked 5 questions, and they know what program they're eligible for. That is the power of technology today. Any person can get any piece of information anywhere, anytime. Think how radical that is. The first time in human history this is possible. We know that this technology is a tool for democratization. We see it in places like the Middle East. But think about the other consequence of this, the political consequence. Individuals have power. You know the old saying, information is power? Well, guess what? Now, the individual has it. Individuals have more power than ever before because information has moved to the individual. And what's the other consequence of this incredible technology revolution? The pace of change continues to accelerate. People react as soon as they know something, they react. And boy, when digital content moves like that, people can react like that. And what is the consequence of those two things? That power and information have gone to an individual, that the pace of change is accelerating. Guess what? Centralized decision-making, institutions, bloated bureaucracies are less and less able to respond. It's not just that they're big. It's not just that they're expensive. They don't work very well anymore. Information takes too long to travel up and down a hierarchy. Rules and procedures that were put in place 3 years ago, 5 years ago, 20 years ago, simply are incapable of responding to what is going on. That is why every well-functioning business in America decentralizes its decision-making and puts information in the hands of people who face customers directly because they know it works better. It is why the Pentagon has spent billions and billions of dollars creating the smart soldier, so that a soldier sits on the battlefield and has the information that they need to make a judgment and make a decision so they don't go up and down a chain of command. In this, the 21st century, a century where individuals are empowered, a century where centralized institutions, bureaucratic decision-making just doesn't work anymore. What is it that we as conservatives have always believed? We have always believed that power must be decentralized. Out of Washington, out of states, out of Washington into states, and if necessary, out of state capitals into City Hall. What have we also always believed as conservatives? That it is individuals who make the best decisions. That it is individuals who make the best decisions for themselves, for their families, for their businesses. And never before have these principles of decentralized decision-making and empowered individuals making as many decisions as possible, never have those principles been more important to the subject of job creation and prosperity. You know how much trouble our economy is in. You heard depressing stories from California, but you see it all over. Of all the terrible statistics about our economy, the most troubling to me of all is this: that today, fewer small businesses are being started and more small businesses are failing than has been true over many decades. That is the most troubling statistic of all, because small businesses are the first rung on the ladder of the American dream. They start a small business, they dream big, and this is a time when small businesses should be flourishing like never before, because technology can make a small business look like a big business. Because technology can make a small business able to compete actually better than a big business. And because people are caught up in a go local movement, this is a time when small businesses should be cropping up all over, and yet they are being constrained. They are being restrained, and we know by what and by whom. America was founded on a truly radical idea. And that radical idea is that everyone has potential. That it doesn't matter who you are, or where you come from, or what you look like, or what your particular challenges or opportunities are. Every person has potential. And our founders believed that in this country, everyone has the right to fulfill their potential. Everyone has the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And these come from God and cannot be taken away by man. I graduated from Stanford University with a degree in medieval history and philosophy. It's interesting how everyone laughs when I say that. I graduated in the middle of a recession. I went to law school. I hated law school. I quit law school. I went to work as a secretary for a small business. I typed, I filed, I answered the phones. I have traveled all over the world, and I know that it is only in this country, to this very day, that it doesn't matter how you start. All that matters is how far you want to go. And I also know that only in this country can a woman like me start as a secretary typing and filing and become the CEO of one of the largest companies in the world. Because I believe we are making the American dream too hard for too many people. And I want my two young granddaughters to have the same limitless possibilities that I had. So now let us go all the way back to the beginning. Progressives are not advancing change. It is progressives who are standing and defending a status quo, the status quo of large, bloated, unresponsive bureaucracies. They are ineffective, they are unresponsive, they are truly expensive, and they don't work anymore in the 21st century. In the hands of too big bureaucracies. This is the century where individuals are empowered as never before. This is the century where more people in more places can fulfill more potential than ever before. This, of all the centuries in human history, this is the time when people, Americans, should be able to dream their biggest and achieve their most. So let us declare today, with all of the incredible work that you do out there every day, let us declare that this is the time when our ideals of initiative and creativity and determination can truly blossom. Let us be radicals once again. Let us be 21st century radicals, because we should stand for the reform. We know that government must be, can be, should be more capable, more compassionate, more responsive, and yes, a heck of a lot smaller and less expensive. And let us declare that it is we as conservatives who are advancing the change that the 21st century is all about. This is America's century. This is the century that is about unleashing more Americans' potential than ever before. It is conservatives. It is Americans for prosperity. It is those of us who believe power to the individual. Let us found our nation in the determination, the creativity, the sheer wonder of individuals. Let us use the power of technology to radically reform government. It is conservatives who are on the right side of history. Thank you so very much.